Hi everyone, welcome to the Day Ghost. Today we're going to be talking about the film Pearl. I got a guest once again, just like the Thor video. I got Josh here.
Hi there.
How's it going, man?
Doing very well. Doing very well. I was asleep like 10 minutes ago, but now I'm awake, so that's good.
Yeah, just in time.
Exactly.
So yeah, we're going to be not watching. We're going to be talking about Pearl today. Josh, how did you feel about X? Because obviously this is like a prequel to another movie that also came out this year.
Yeah, I I guess like a good kind of preface is with Ty West, the director, not familiar with his work really. Um, I am now aware that he has like a really nice kind of cult following with his work. Um, but I was not familiar with his work before X. But then I watched X earlier this year, and I loved it. It was just a breath of fresh air, and it was really just a nice homage to grindhouse cinema from the 1970s. But specifically, I really liked the homages to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But it also told a very unique story about age and about regret that really was pretty powerful.
Hmm.
Definitely very scary too. But I loved X. So once I found out about Pearl, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. So because this guy is doing like a slasher cinematic universe, I think. Like he's doing these movies are gonna be like in the same universe or same kind of like
Same
situation.
series. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's more like a series than anything.
Hmm.
But yeah, no. So definitely was very excited for Pearl, and I want to watch more of Ty West movies, especially after seeing Pearl.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I'd never seen another Ty West movie before X, and Josh actually messaged me. It was like, "Hey, I watched this great movie called X today. That was pretty good." And I was like,
Yeah,
I don't know what this is. I got time. I'll go see this movie." And I was like half awake when I went to go see it. And I remember like early on, I was like, "Oh man, I need to like not fall asleep," but it's like really lulling me into like the atmosphere, and it's like making me a bit drowsy. And then obviously I never fell asleep, and it was awesome. And I've seen it a few times since the theaters too.
yeah.
And I also saw Pearl basically that way. I had like no sleep the night before. I had like 3 hours of sleep, and then I passed out for like an hour in the middle of the day. Got up and went to go see Pearl. So
Oh
apparently,
wow,
that's just the way I see these movies.
that's so funny because I also didn't get any sleep the night before watching Pearl. I think I got a max like an hour of sleep. I think like in the day.
Yeah.
Because I just did not manage my time well that day at all, and I
Hmm.
was like, oh, here we go. I just was slugging out homework the night before. But thankfully, I was very wide awake during Pearls. It did not impact my viewing
Hmm.
at all.
No, both of these movies are just like so good that it was like, oh man, like this is awesome. I'm wide
Oh yeah,
awake. It was like I saw the movie The Witch, Robert Eggers' first film. I started at like 5:30 in the morning, the first time I watched it, and I was like half asleep. I started it and I was just like, man, this movie's awesome. I'm wide awake now.
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, The Witch is a great movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But Josh, how did you feel about Pearl?
I think I might like it more than X. I want to watch it again just to make sure. I'm actually planning on showing it to my father because I recently showed my father X, and my father loved X, and
Mhm.
um, you know, is very excited to see Pearl after finding out about that. My dad knows nothing about Pearl, so that'll be really fun to get to show him this and have like a fresh experience. But Pearl was such a it's such a genius kind of idea. Like I was watching it and I'm like, man, how did we never make a horror movie or slasher movie like this?
Mhm.
Like it's such a like obvious place to go. I would think to go like, oh yeah, like we never really did like a Technicolor slasher movie. You know what I mean? Like there's something
Mhm.
kind of cool about that, and I think that you know, I thought that it was haunting. You know, especially towards the end, which we're not going to give away at the moment. And I just think that Mia Goth is at like the top of her game in this movie. She is
Absolutely.
unbelievable in this movie. She's great. Um, I think that just I love again, I grew up in a very musical family, and a lot of the callbacks to MGM Technicolor musicals, and like it was just really like sweet to see, and it's like nice. It's like yeah, like it makes sense to combine that. It's
Mhm.
cool that they combined that with the slasher genre. I was like, that is a genius way to breathe new life into the slasher genre. But
Mhm.
also, I think on a personal level, I really responded to the kind of cinematic language that the movie was pulling from. So I thought that was
Mhm.
really cool. So I was very happy with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I walked out of Pearl saying, "This is Joker done right."
Oh wow.
Or not? That's a little harsh. Joker's not like a bad movie. It's fine. Um, but like Joker, maybe like better realized, like where you have a main character that's psychotic, and you kind of like delve deeper into that as you go along. Um, and like you said, I really latched on to a lot of the MGM stuff. Especially, there's a lot of Wizard of Oz in this movie, and
Absolutely.
I think initially I expected it to go a little bit farther, because you have her like riding a bike with kind of like a Dorothy looking outfit. You have a scarecrow, and at a certain point, I was like, "Are we gonna end up hitting all of the like side characters of the Wizard of Oz? Like, is she gonna meet a Tin Man and a lion?"
Uh,
But
well, and when she rides the bike, she looks like the Wicked Witch.
oh
You
yeah,
know.
no, there's
Yeah.
absolutely that
So
too. Mhm. No, it was just it was like you said, very just kind of early MGM film wise, and it's especially cool because the more like slashery, like um, grindhousey, like more violent stuff is like a '70s thing. So it's kind of bringing something that happened way later into a different style that was a lot more clean and, for lack of a better word, I don't know, like safe, I guess. Like it's a lot more like fun, for like that
yeah,
kind of MGM feel.
there's more of an innocence.
Exactly, that's
Um,
perfect word for it.
yeah, and then eventually you that innocence doesn't stay there.
Hmm. No, absolutely. Yeah, so I think we're both recommending it to people. So if you don't want to be spoiled, click away.
Absolutely.
So Josh, do you want to start us off on something for spoiler talk?
Um, yeah. Well, I don't know if I can ever eat like pig again after this movie. Like, that was so messed up and so uh, gross with the.
And also like genuinely pretty funny in places.
Oh, sure, yeah,
This movie like has a pretty good sense of humor that never really cuts away from anything. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, you have Pearl's sister-in-law brings them a pig, and they just kind of leave it out on the front porch, and it rots over time. And there's a part where she comes over and she's like, "Hey, like, is that my pig?"
Yeah, well, I like when David Cornsweet, his character comes over, because eventually Pearl and him um, have a have like an affair.
Mhm.
Um, and when he comes over, he just looks at a pig. He just goes, huh, okay,
That's a little
you
weird.
know, yeah. I like the
Mhm.
escalation of that too. We're going all over the place, but I like the escalation of that scene too, where he starts out initially kind of suspicious, like he's like that's a little strange, and then eventually he's like, okay, I'm very terrified, like throughout that
Yeah.
whole date. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's very you start off kind of like, like there's something a little off about this. And then
Mhm.
there's just so many red flags on top of red flags and it just like naturally builds. And
Yeah.
I remember like in the theater I was really surprised how quick we kind of get rid of that character, but at the same time it's so just kind of natural and where it has to be. Um,
Yeah.
but I really expected that guy to be in it a lot more. Um, and I mean, I also throw out that guy should just be Superman. Like
I
WB,
agree.
when you make the Superman, the Superman equivalent of the Batman, cast that guy because he's just
Oh,
Superman.
yeah. Like I left the theater, and one of the first things I said to Austin was, "That guy should be Superman." Like,
Yeah, no, this guy's showing people
um,
porn and he's just Superman. It's like that's
yeah.
how much he radiates Superman energy.
That's the interesting thing about that is that in any other movie, I think he would be colored more as or I guess more framed as like a bit more of like a sleaze bag or something.
Yeah,
But
or
he's
like
not.
dirtier, like kind of grosser, like you said, a little greasy.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and like he's not exactly like a perfect person. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But he's also like
He's kind of just a
I think
guy.
yeah, like he's not really yeah. I think a lesser writer would have maybe taken that character and gone, oh yeah, he's like the lowest of the low. He's not really. He's just kind of like a
Hmm.
dude making his living. He's just kind of a guy of the time. But he's also not evil either.
Yeah,
It's interesting kind of character and flavor with that.
yeah, exactly. Because in like a lesser movie, you'd probably cast like a more like overweight actor and like maybe kind of have them look sweaty all the time and just kind of
Uh,
like what I mean, like that kind of look. And it's kind of that Norman Bates thing, like from the book to the movie, right? Where like there's just kind of this like gross feel to book Norman Bates, while in the movie they just make him a guy, so it's just like creepier.
yeah,
Well, obviously, like this character in this movie is not creepy, but like basically he runs the projector at a movie theater, and Pearl wants to be in movies, so she kind of like early on, I think, has feelings for this character, and he tells her that she can kind of come by anytime and get private shows for their movie theater. And when she goes there, he's like, oh, like, hey, check out this new type of movie that they're doing in Europe, and it's just porn. It's
yeah.
also apparently like a 5-minute porno.
Yeah, well, I did a little bit of research, and that is, I think, the first pornographic film. Like, that's a real silent film
Oh,
porn movie.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
I figured they made it for the movie because it's like it goes far, but like not far enough where you're seeing things. But when you first initially see it, I was like, I'm kind of shocked like they could get away with this.
No, yeah, well, they did it, and that was like a private show. I can't remember. I think they're called Skag movies. I think,
Hmm.
but there were movies that were shown underground, and because they're porn,
Yeah,
like at the time. So I think because of
kind of a
like
little bit before porno theaters.
yeah, and so like they would be shown at like fraternities or something like that, right?
Hmm.
Which I thought was interesting that I guess he was able to get it from Europe. I didn't realize that Europe had that specific movie
Hmm.
because I think that's an American movie, but I could be wrong. But I thought
Yeah,
that was fun detail. But Ty West knows like way more than me about this stuff. So
he is
there
a
you go.
porn connoisseur. That Ty West.
Well, he just knows a lot about film history in general. Like
Mhm.
I'm pretty shocked at a lot of the deep pulls uh, that he gets in these movies.
Mhm.
And hearing his interviews with him, I'm like, oh, you really know what you're talking about, which is pretty impressive.
No, absolutely. And
Yeah,
what's super impressive, just in general, because it's my understanding that they were on set of X and came up with this idea for this movie, and then they just like immediately made it. And I agree with
yeah,
you. Like I think it is better than X. It's also co-written by Mia Goth this time, and you can
yeah.
absolutely tell that it's co-written by an actor, because it really lets her stretch her legs in a way that like X doesn't go farther with, if you know what I mean. Like
Mhm.
there's a like 10-minute sequence where we just lock a camera on Mia Goth and she just has a monologue and it's amazing.
Oh
Um,
my god.
but like that's the type of thing that like actors strive for. You know what I mean? Like a chance to really like showcase their talent.
I think this is definitely like a role of a lifetime kind
Hmm.
of situation with Mia Goth as Pearl. Um, yeah, she kills it, and that monologue was haunting. Like
Absolutely.
you would think that you would be exhausted from watching the same static image, but it's like not static at all
Hmm.
because like it's so like animated,
There's
you
just
know,
so
and,
much
and
going on with like her face because like it is right close to her face. Like there's no real background. Like it's basically just her face, the whole frame, and like it's all her, and she sells it perfectly.
yeah, like it's a monologue where there's a beginning, middle, and end like that. Like her performance tells a story,
Hmm.
and then you get by the end. By the time you get back to the end, you get back to like a oh, I can't remember what the exact term is in the hero's journey, but it's like you return to like normalcy, forever changed, and it's like
Hmm.
yeah, like now she's forever
Yeah,
changed.
there's no
Like
going back from here. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like you like very much revealed everything about yourself at that point, and
Hmm.
you know she can't be who um, you know her sister-in-law thought she was.
Yeah, well, even just watching it, like I was so just locked into what was happening that when we finally cut and like went back to the scene proper, it was like, oh yeah, I'm in a movie. That's right. Like I was just so locked into this, like specific moment.
Oh yeah, well I'll be honest, I was thinking about well I was sucked in too, but I was also thinking about what made it horrifying is I was imagining her reaction.
I had
Like
that too, where it's like because it almost puts you. It's not exactly a POV, but it almost like gives you the POV of the sister-in-law character, where you feel
yeah,
like you're in that role, and it's like wow, like this is insane.
yeah, you have to experience because it's an intimate kind of moment, right?
Hmm.
And like I think in order to properly communicate that to the audience, it makes sense to have it be so close up on Pearl because this is something that's super immediate to the sister-in-law. Yeah,
So my phone's going off. I'm sure you can probably hear that in the background. I'm like, I can turn my audio off, but I don't know where my phone is.
I can't
um,
hear it.
oh, okay. Well, that's good at least. It was like a really loud ding.
Oh no,
um, yeah, I like lost my train of thought because of that. I'm sorry, but
oh no worries.
um, no, just that monologue is really great, and just her performance in general, like. The last shot of this movie is just a close up of her face as well, and it starts off
Yeah,
really funny, where it's like her just kind of like doing like really like 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 smile,
yeah,
and it's kind of silly, but also haunting at the same time. And then
oh
it
yeah.
keeps going, and then it keeps going,
Just keeps going
and
and
it
going
keeps
and going.
going, and the more it goes, the more just kind of like creepy and haunting it gets, and like you can see her face straining and like her eyes are watering because she's holding them like so wide, and it
Yeah,
gets just creepier and creepier as it goes along, to the point that it becomes not just unsettling but like deeply horrifying in a way that most horror movies
yeah,
can't hit.
yeah. Like it, uh, yeah, it was great.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think. Tyler Bates' score was wonderful. Um, probably should mention that his work on X was also great.
Hmm.
But I
Absolutely.
think that with Pearl, it's like harkening back to like a time, and it's so great. He does a really good job with that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
his,
exactly.
his that musical identity in this film and in X is so important to, and it almost becomes like a character in the movie. Um, you know, and it puts you into this in a particular time and place. Like I bet his score for Maxine will probably be the same, where it'll probably take on a whole form of its own and really
Hmm.
set you in this time and place.
I'm
You
guessing a
know?
lot of like that kind of 80s synth wavy, like John Carpenter
Yeah,
type music for that. Um,
yeah. I'm thinking that too. Yeah,
mhm. No, I feel like this just this trilogy, like it could go past it, who knows? But just this trilogy as is like the universe's answer to the Fear Street Netflix trilogy, which is like, let's take different eras and just kind of do like a little slasher thing in them. But and I know a lot of people like the Fear Street trilogy, but it's complete dog shit and it sucks. But like this is so wonderful and adopts that flavor so much more and doesn't feel like a Nickelodeon adaptation of a decade.
well, I think that what you just said is kind of key in the difference, right? Is
Mm.
that this is for adults. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
absolutely.
I would not. I think I would have watched something like X as a kid and I wouldn't get it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not just that they're adult movies because it's violent. It's also because they're talking about really disturbing ideas that you're not going to get unless you get to a certain age and you
Mhm.
know people. You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like when I was younger, I'd probably appreciate X more because it's more, for lack of a better word, like slashery. While
Sure.
this isn't really like this is just straight up a character study, uh,
Yeah.
with like three kills in it.
Yeah. Very sparing. Well, I also appreciate the escalation of Pearl's descent into madness because
Hmm.
initially it starts out with her just killing animals, which is creepy. But like eventually it goes even further, obviously, and I think that the way they tracked that was pretty authentic and true to that. It just felt very believable that we would get to that point with Pearl eventually.
Hmm. No, and you feel like you're actually watching this character slowly descend, not just in terms of like killing things, but also just awareness to what's going on around her. Um,
Yeah,
you
like
know,
the masturbation thing and
yeah, or even everything around. So there's like this church tryout for like a dance group that's going to tour the country, and
yeah.
Pearl is like, this is my chance. This is my big break. I'm going to be a real Hollywood actress. And we kind of set up earlier on that her sister-in-law is also going to go, and I was like, it could be like like forced drama if we do something like, oh, the sister-in-law gets it and then she's mad. But it ends up like subverting that, where Pearl thinks the sister gets it, but she didn't, and it plays more into that just descent, like we were saying.
Yeah, her lack of awareness is very important to her deteriorating mental state. You know, and
Mhm.
I think that the mom. Oh, we got to talk about the mom.
Yeah,
Um,
just the family in general. Yeah.
the family in general. But the mom saying all those times that you thought you were alone doing things, I was watching. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like I was there. Um, makes you realize like, oh my god, like really isn't. She really isn't really that in tune with reality. And it also just makes certain scenes really creepy. That
Mhm.
like her mom was like looking at some of that stuff. Masturbation scene, the scene where she kills the chicken, like
The
she has
goose,
the egg
yeah.
and she crunches it.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my god, the mom was watching that and didn't do anything. Like, oh
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
just very disturbing. Um, yeah, so Pearl lives with her like German mother and father who's paralyzed, so they have to take care of him.
yeah,
And I don't everything about that is like just really strong. Like you have like the big kind of confrontation scene between Pearl and the mom, um, and the mom gives like also gives like a really good monologue where she talks about how life wasn't exactly what she wanted either. She has a moment where she says like, "Oh, this is my husband. I didn't want him to be like I didn't want to be his mother. Like I was supposed to be his wife, but now he's
right,
paralyzed, so I have to take care of him." And like just all of that's so good, and I think the mother stuff ultimately leads to one of just like the most haunting images in the entire movie. I think where the mom ends up burning to death, and Pearl or she doesn't burn to death. She burns like half to death, which is even worse. And Pearl drops her
she's
in
like
the
trying to
basement.
die.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
and at the end, she goes down into the basement, and the mom's like finally died. Trying to crawl out of like the back cellar door, and she like curls up on her mom's dead body and like imagines her and her mom like getting to say "I love you" one last time, and it's
yeah.
so like disturbing and haunting and just sad.
Oh yeah, definitely sad. Um,
hmm
like, ugh. but it's so good too. Like it's
Yeah, it's just
such a
it's
great
really
character arc.
powerful. hmm
Yeah,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, there's another thing I was going to say with that, but I can't remember. But yeah, it's just
yeah.
that moment in the theater. I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, I think it's stuff like that that puts it over X for me. Where X is really good, but Pearl like hit me more in a place.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
they're
Well,
both
I
good for different reasons. Like, they're kind of hard to compare exactly.
well, I felt sad by the end of Pearl.
Mhm.
I think that's the thing is that like I was scared definitely, but it's also that sadness that I felt, and I was like, oh my god, like she didn't get that part, and she didn't, you know. It, it's just a bummer ending, because
Mhm.
now what's great about it is that we know where Pearl ends up because
Mhm.
we've already seen X, but
Yeah.
that doesn't matter because we're lulled into some sense of like security,
Mhm.
with aspects of Pearl, and then no, we don't get that really at all.
No, and this is like exactly how a prequel should be. Like, it's not
Yeah,
prequely. There's never really moments where it's like, oh, we got to explain this. It's just kind of like, here's another story. And there's certain things that are just kind of constants. Like, you have, it takes place in the same location, so you have the same alligator as in X, but like, that doesn't feel the same way, and it is used completely differently. And like it's never like, okay, uh, how did Pearl learn to do this thing that happened in X?
yeah, she just kind of knows already.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And you could easily watch this without having seen that. I think is the best
I,
part.
I
There
agree.
there's like bonuses for having seen both, but you can see either or without the other being necessary. And I'm
I
sure
agree.
Maxine will probably be the same, but also probably more reliant on X just because it's the same character like afterwards. But we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder how much Maxine will play as a direct sequel to X.
Hmm.
Because there's stuff in X that sets up a sequel
Yeah, no,
with
exactly.
Maxine. So I think that's going to be really interesting to watch. Stuff with her father.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably going to be the big thing with that one is dealing with
Yeah,
that kind of religious group.
yeah.
And no, I'm really excited. I know we don't really know a date for that. It would be insane if he manages to knock out 3 movies in 1 year. I'm assuming it'll come out early next year, but like, man,
Right.
I'm so excited for that movie.
Yeah, I'm excited too. He did not shoot that movie yet. He shot the teaser.
Oh, okay, so
So
it's still just like starting into production.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't look too much into it, so I wasn't sure if like they'd already shot stuff or like what was going on with that.
Well, the amount of trust A24 has in Ty West is
I know.
amazing. Like,
It's crazy, man.
yeah, they greenlit that stuff. And they're like, yeah, that's a good idea.
That's
But
cool.
thankfully it worked. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
No, they greenlit Pearl like I said into development of X. Like there was that could have easily bombed.
Yeah,
Like it's insane just the level A24 goes like, yeah, like that's a cool idea, like go for it. And obviously they're not playing with, giant amounts of money in the same way that like a blockbuster would, but like it's still uh crazy how much faith they put in this guy.
yeah, it's really cool.
No, it's awesome.
um, we should probably talk about the dad, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I go for it.
Oh yeah. Well, that stuff is very creepy. I think all the scenes where Pearl was like kind of confiding in her father and stuff like that,
Hmm.
I was like, ugh, like you know, uh, I just was very it was a very just creepy kind of dynamic. And I thought it was interesting that it had a lot of roots in history as well. That situation, because something that's important is that this movie takes place in
1918.
19, yeah, and it's set like around the Spanish flu,
Hmm.
right? Like that's like the historical backdrop, and I think that plays as a really believable kind of conflict for the characters, where you are thinking like, oh my god, like Pearl is abusing the medicine that's supposed to be used for her father while also taking off her mask while in a theater with people, and it's like it makes you realize like, oh my god, like the father is extremely vulnerable in all kinds of directions,
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
because I think probably the most like I think the most tense part about the father is that he is just so vulnerable.
Yeah, because you
Like
can't move in any way. Like they have to. It reminded me more of Texas Chainsaw Massacre with the grandpa, where like he looks completely dead, and they put like her finger in his mouth, and he like starts sucking on the blood. It's like that where like that's how they feed him. Like they get put like a little bit of food on a spoon, and they put it in, and he just kind of like breathes it in. Um,
yeah,
you
that
know.
is a good call. No, because I that's so funny because we were having this discussion earlier about how the grandpa in Texas Chainsaw Massacre has the finger in the mouth, and I was like, oh yeah, he bit it. But then you're like, no, he sucked on it, and I was like, oh, I think you're right. That makes it way worse.
Yeah, because it's like they
So
cut her finger and then put it in his mouth, and you just start sucking on the blood, and it's so creepy. And
yeah,
like obviously I don't entirely know, but I imagine that might be a reference to that, since the last movie was so Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But like
yeah,
just recontextualized so it's not like the creepy thing. Um,
yeah, and it has basis in history too. That
yeah,
situation.
yeah.
So, no, but
Um,
it works really well.
that actor's also like really good. Like, because
Yeah,
he has to convey so much emotion with just eyes, and like, because early on, they kind of set it up like, is this guy really like there? Like Pearl has a speech about like, oh, like I don't even know if you're still in there.
yeah,
But as the movie goes on, you can just see like the horror in his eyes as he's watching his entire family fall apart, and he's just unable to move.
yeah. They could have easily played him as almost like a prop character or like a plot device or something, where
Hmm.
like he's just kind of there, but like he doesn't really have like a, and that would have been super unengaging if they went that way. But thankfully, they had you know, they understood that they had to make him a character, and that just adds to the horror of it. Is like imagine you're completely immobilized, you know, on this wheelchair, can't talk, can't do anything really without support, but you're also watching your family fall apart and your daughter become completely deranged, you know?
Hmm.
Like, that's a creepy thought, you know?
Yeah,
And also the times with him, with the alligator, right? Like, that was
yeah.
creepy.
You have the alligator part, and that happens what, like halfway through the movie. Like there's still so much more like down that Pearl goes, and the dad's just experienced this moment like way before any of that, where his daughter tries to dump her into like an alligator's mouth. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really tense.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely expecting the dad to die in that situation, and then he
Hmm.
didn't die, and then that somehow ended up being way worse for his character because then he had to watch everything else happen. You know.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, it ends up being way scarier because we didn't go with just like the shock death early on, and the alligator almost kind of exists as like reverse setup and payoff, where we don't ultimately do anything with it. Like it's just kind of there, and we're kind of building suspense. And then I guess if you were to watch them now in chronological order, it almost kind of builds suspense to the next movie.
oh yeah, because like okay, that alligator's gonna do something. You
Yeah,
know.
exactly. It's
Yeah,
Chekhov's alligator.
and then finally he does.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He gets to eat a blonde
Yeah,
woman.
exactly.
No, it's great. Um,
Oh, okay, isn't it cool that Pearl has that experience with her sister-in-law, right? Oh no, well they say we're looking for someone
younger and
like a blonde
blonder.
woman.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then in Rex, she goes, "I never liked blondes."
yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Good call. Good
Yeah,
call.
yeah.
No, and
So
that's prequely in a way. Like I didn't even pick up on that, but good call.
yeah,
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. And you get to see. I know because it wouldn't be the same. Or is it the same car that not Superman drives into the lake? Is that the car you see in X, or is that a different car?
well, I think it might be the same car.
Hmm.
It might be.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and relook, but I could see that
Yeah,
either way because like it's been so long, and it could imply more so that we've done more things in the meantime, or it could just be like it was this car and we like told a story with it.
yeah,
Hmm. Um, yeah, then you have the Wizard of Oz scarecrow scene, which
yeah.
is super creepy. And the way the scarecrow looks, I was expecting it to move. Like I was expecting it to go like into how crazy she was, and like the face to start talking, just the way that it looks. And I was like, I'm glad that didn't happen. I would have
Yeah,
lost
I
my
was very
shit.
happy. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that scarecrow was going to be alive or not.
Mhm.
If it, if it was alive, that would have been a very different scene. I mean, well, it already is really messed up. Um, but I remember when she sees the dude in there,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, is that what happens? But no, that's not what happened.
Mhm.
So that's good.
No, she just straight up bangs the scarecrow.
That
um,
was insane.
the people next to me got up and left during that scene.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they got up and they left. And my friend that I went to see it and I, we just looked at each other and laughed. Like, oh yeah, that was the final straw.
That doesn't surprise me. But that one, because I think up until that point, there's nothing in the movie that would make you want to get up and leave, right? Like I think that, or no, there isn't anything in the movie that would offend people
Mhm.
up until that moment. I can see that like being like, okay, let's get out of here. Like for some people who are like kind of like squeamish about that stuff, you
Well,
know.
yeah, and I expected it to be so much more. Maybe not graphic, but like I thought there'd be a lot more like nudity and stuff, like how X was. And I remember seeing an article that was like, oh, like near like pornographic clip of Pearl like released by the studio, which I didn't look at because I was like, I want to see it as blind as I can. But I guess it's just that movie
Yeah,
theater scene because there's nothing else really like that.
I really appreciated that. I'm happy you brought that up. That there is no nudity in the movie because I think that adds to the authenticity of it, kind of paying homage to that kind of time in American cinema. You wouldn't have gotten nudity, in those movies back then. You just couldn't. Um, so it's nice that they relegated it to only that one moment where we saw the silent film pornography. I thought that was very smart, and it also added to like you know the stuff that was violent in the movie. It just made it even more like uh, shocking,
Hmm.
because it isn't really grindhouse movie like in the way that X was paying homage to.
Hmm. No, absolutely. And also, I
Yeah,
think it's really good that they don't do that with this movie because it almost makes it more of like a fantasy, right? Like it's like a big
yeah.
thing in the movie theater that like she's like, wow, this is kind of what I want, and like none of that is in the kind of world around her.
Mhm. Yeah, like she has sex with David Cornsweet's character.
And it's played
And I
like
don't.
how you would like a James Bond cutaway where you have like the music
Yeah.
swells and like they hug and then you just cut to afterwards.
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, like you don't see anything, and then but that's the point, is that it's meant to be played as, this is a fantasy. We established that they have made love, so that means that they're closer now in that way. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and it's, yeah, like you said, it's that kind of golden age of Hollywood, um, fantasy, for definitely Pearl. Like that's kind of the way that she wants the world to be. It's
Hmm.
not really like that though.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Not
No,
in
it,
real life, no. Yeah.
no, in real life you have to bang scarecrows.
Yeah.
What can you do? Somebody needs
Yeah,
to
she's
edit
really
in the
good at
clip
it.
of her humping the scarecrow with the scarecrow from Wizard of Oz yelling, "You throw my legs over there, throw my arms over there."
Oh man, that's rough. But yeah, man, this movie was so good.
Yeah, I think this is probably my favorite movie of the year so far. So, but
I
it's
agree.
it's been a pretty good year for movies. I think. Like, I'd have to relook at my list of how I ranked stuff because I rank it all in Letterboxd. But like, I think X is like fifth or sixth in my top 10, and like X is awesome. Like, you know what I
It's good.
mean?
It's good.
Like it's there's
Um,
been a lot of cool shit this year.
yeah, I mean A24. They've been doing very well these past couple years, and this year is no exception. They've made a lot of really great movies, two of which I still haven't seen. I want to watch Marcel, The Shell of Shoes on, and Funny Pages. I have to watch too.
I haven't even
I
heard of
just
that
need to watch
one.
that movie. Funny Pages is about a guy who he wants to be a cartoonist, like a comic book artist
Mhm.
and creator, and ends up meeting someone who used to work at Image, tries to get him as a mentor. That's all I know about the movie, but it looks super geeky and looks super low budget, and so I'm excited to watch that. Um, it's made by Kevin Kline, I think is his name.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, but it only was released in New York, so I couldn't, you know.
Mhm.
Um, I probably could have gone into the city, but I like going into the city to watch to go to like IFC stuff like that, like art house theaters.
Mhm.
So yeah, not so much new releases at the moment. My finances just can't do that.
I
I gotta
hear
save
that.
for special occasions. Yeah. I have to watch that, but no. But A24 has been doing very well this year
Mhm.
overall, and I think that yeah, because you look at Everything Everywhere All at Once, and that's such a great movie too, right? So
Yeah.
it's hard to compare. Well, not hard to compare. It's hard to say like, oh man, like which one's my favorite for me. But I think Pearl might be my favorite of the year.
Mhm.
I think it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I have X over Everything Everywhere All at Once, but that movie's also really good. Like it's,
Yeah,
like you said, just some great shit.
yeah. Even outside of A24, like the Batman or the Northman,
Yeah, The
the
Northman.
Batman was really good. Um,
Prey was really good.
I
Uh,
still haven't seen Prey. I got to.
oh yeah, no, Prey turned out really well.
Yeah,
Um,
Elvis.
I love Elvis.
I love Elvis.
Yeah, exactly. No, just a lot of
Yeah,
cool stuff. It's been a pretty good year. Better than the last few years, I think.
yeah. No,
Uh,
I agree.
but is there anything else you have or you want to mention with Pearl before we wrap up?
Uh, no, I don't believe so. No.
Cool, cool. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming on, Josh. Josh actually suggested doing this, and I was like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's do it. Why not?" But I'll see everybody later. See ya.
Let's see.
God, I gotta work it better. End